upcoming store. We're just going to start off by cutting some fishing line. We're going to get the lengths that we need. Every one of them will be the same. This is the way I cut all my leaders. They'll all be within a 1/2 inch anyway. We'll just go ahead and cut out 5 of these, because we're only going to do this until my wife texts. She's been working a contract job, and so we don't get to see each other that much. So we're going to be just doing this live until she gets off work, because finally she gets to come home tonight. Anyhow, yeah, we're going to tie up 4 or 5 of each different rig. And these will be on my Etsy soon. This is a 35-pound test leader. And we're using these number 2 eagle claw hooks. These are the channel catfish rigs. And there'll be like 5 of them for here's the let me move this vise out of the way so I can show you guys a little bit better. Anyway, this is the channel catfish rig. Just run this line right through the front of that hook out to the back. Pin it down. Pin it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you run it right back through the back side. Get it off that big old bag of swivels. Then you just cinch it down tight. Trim the tag end real clean. This will work perfect for channel catfish, and I've caught 30-pound, I think it was 33-pound blue cat on this rig. And so it works fine for, you know, you gotta play them out when they get that big, but that makes it fun. So and then this knot's just my favorite knot, works for me. If you guys haven't already, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. That's one rig down. We're gonna go ahead and tie a couple of these. I got a whole bunch of them I've got to tie. But I'm trying to build up some inventory. I got little bags to put them in and everything, but I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. What's up, Crossroads Transport? Anyhow, bring it up here. I go 8, because then when you pull it, what size hook? This is a number 2 eagle claw hook. This is a channel catfish rig, 35-pound test leader. Hi, Mr. Raccoon. Nice to meet you too. Now we're going to tie on a barrel swivel. And the barrel swivel size is size 7. Number 7 swivel. This knot, I'll try to get it up there closer where everybody can see it. What do I recommend for bait? Shad, night crawlers. We're getting on up there where it's going to be closer to time to start using grasshoppers too. If you guys haven't ever went out and caught yellow grasshoppers, and you know them ones that are like 2.5 inches long, you need to go catch some grasshoppers and go fishing with grasshoppers. It's pretty fun. But we're just tying up these catfish rigs. We're going to package them and everything. There'll be 5 per pack, and it'll be like $8. Or you can just tie them yourself. But if you don't have time to tie them, or you don't want to tie them, well, we're going to have them for sale here soon. What's up, Real J Fishing? We're going to tie up some a couple different ones. Like I said, we're just going to tie up 5 of each rig. We don't have that much time tonight. Now, I showed you guys the snail, so I'm going to try and show you guys the knot for the swivel. And they're not all going to be Carolina rigs. We're going to tie some rigs for what do they call it? Bumping. We're going to tie some bumping rigs too. Heck yeah. Hey, me and my brothers, back before we had a throw net, we would, when we were kids, we would use rooster tails, and when the shad were spawning up on the rocks, we would run rooster tails through them and snag them for catfish bait. But anyway, I just take that line and go over it one time like that. So I got both pieces in my hand. And now to make it easy, pinch them between your thumb and your index finger. Take another finger and stick it through there like that. Just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then instead of going through the bottom loop, I go back through the top loop. And I'm sure that there are knots that are stronger, but this knot worked for me for a long time. And if you do it right, and when you cinch it down tight, when you pull this part, I'll explain it better on the next part, but when I pull it down, I don't pull it tight off of this one. I cinch it tight off of this one. And essentially, that's a snail knot around your line, and so it's pretty strong. That's the knot I run on all my rigs, and it works good. And anyway, I'm gonna try to set these over here in such a manner that they don't get all tangled up, because I still have to package them. And when I package them to sale, they'll all be in their own individual Ziploc bag, and there will be 5 of them inside of a bigger bag. So the bigger bag will be about this size, but they'll all be individually packaged, so they won't be tangled up or nothing like that. We're getting through these pretty quick. We already got 3 tied up, and that's pretty cool. And when I wrap it around there, I actually go 7 times, or 8. I go 8 times, because when you pull it back tight, one of those loops disappears, and then there's 7 on the stack, on the snail. And I like to do that because 7 is God's number, and I just feel like, 7 days in a week, it might as well be 7. My favorite fish to catch, flathead catfish. But it has to be right up there with tuna too. I went tuna fishing this year, and I'll tell you, it was pretty freaking fun. And check these out. I built these at work today. I made a video of it, but I don't know if I'm gonna post it or not. But pretty good rod holder for bank fishing. Yeah, the tuna are freaking... The thing about them tuna is they don't even have to be big, and they're freaking fun. We caught some really nice ones, but even the smaller ones, they're like mini torpedoes. They don't give up. They fight you all the way to the boat. Yeah, I got some videos on the channel of catching some tuna. It was pretty fun. I caught mine in Costa Rica, and they made their jigs for catching them with 30-30 shells, and so I thought that was pretty cool. They punched out the primer, they snelled a hook on, and then they had some like tentacles, but the body of the jig was a 30-30 shell. And I thought that was really cool. Charles Phillips, yeah, they're pretty clever. They had the traditional stuff too, the stuff that's sold in bait stores. But the stuff that was in the bait stores wasn't the stuff that was catching the big ones. It was the freaking it was the 30-30 shells that were working. We're gonna tie some bumping rigs just to keep this from being so repetitive. We'll go back to tying jigs. I know people probably don't want to watch me snailing hooks and stuff like that. But right now we're going to tie a bumping rig, and this is a catfish are feeding up for the spawn in different parts of the country right now. And what I'm going to show you guys is this swivel. I believe it's called a crane swivel. It's a 3-way swivel, and so your hook is going to come off of this portion. Your main line is going to go on this top portion. Your line that you tied its sinker is going to go on this bottom portion. So what I'm going to do on those rigs is we're going to use 30-pound test for, or 35-pound test for your sinker. And I'll show you what that's going to look like. We're going to go like 1.5 feet long. And I'll get to why we're going to do that here in a minute. And we're going to just simply tie a knot. I haven't decided whether to sell these with peg floats or not. And the reason is the peg floats will make the shipping more. And if you just go to Walmart, you can buy peg floats for 98 cents. And so I might just show how to put a peg float on there. But anyway, so your main line should be 50-pound test, braided fishing line, at least 50-pound test. I'd rather 65-pound test. But then where your hook comes off, and I like these O'Shaughnessy hooks right here. It's a really strong hook, and it's a good hook. Okay, so we got our sinker line tied on though. I'm going to tell you the reason we're going to do this. On the bottom, look on the bottom of it, we're going to make it to where you can change that sinker out real fast. We're just going to go once, and then so it don't slip, we're going to go twice. Now, when you're bouncing along the bottom, a lot of times your sinker will get pinched between two rocks. And so having a smaller diameter bottom line will make it to where if that sinker gets caught up, you're just losing just this bottom line, and you can replace it and keep on fishing. You don't have to tie on a new swivel and a new hook and a new everything. Now, sometimes you're going to lose the whole thing, but more times than not, you're going to get the sinker is what's going to get caught up, because you got a peg float suspending your bait as you're bouncing it down the bottom of the river. So most of the time you're going to get this weight caught up, and since it's lighter, when you pop it off, you're going to lose the sinker and not the rig. And so that's why we're going to do it that way. No sense in making it any more expensive than it has to be. Fishing in general. That's the way I like to even do my 3-way rigs when I'm not bottom bouncing. We're just going to put that hook on there like so. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I'll tell you why, in my opinion, it's better to just go ahead and use a J-hook when you're bouncing. For one, the rod's in your hand, so when that fish bites it, you're going to set the hook. That's the primary reason. The other reason is if you watch any of my videos, I use J-hooks for everything, and most of the fish, I don't catch them in the corner of the mouth. Honestly, the hook is heavy like this, and so if you watch my videos, my regular videos, I got a bunch of catfishing videos, most of them get hooked in the bottom of the mouth or the side of the mouth, sometimes the top of the mouth, but the hook naturally wants to hang like that. So anyhow, yeah, this hook, good hook. You're going to be holding the rod in your hand anyways, so it doesn't make no sense to spend any more money on a circle hook or a, you know, whatever. Now we're just going to take this and tie it on the 3-way swivel, and since they're already all tied up and you pull it out of the package, I'm going to show you what I recommend you do. I don't know if I have any peg floats right here handy, but I would like to show you guys Let me check this box and see what I got over here. I gotta move some of these jig heads around. I don't have a peg float handy, but everybody knows what a peg float is, right? When you pull these out of the bag, they're gonna be coiled up. And now when you tie a snail knot, you actually stretch to yield. So you just take this line and you stretch it as hard as you can. Hard as you can. Have that hook in a safe point. You know, put your finger in the groove like that. Stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. Okay, now that line's gonna be a lot straighter because it's gonna come coiled in a little package because it's better for shipping that way. Same thing with your sinker, so that way it doesn't get tangled up on the way down. Now, you tie your main line on that one. Your sinker's gonna be on this one. This is gonna keep you in direct contact with the bottom, so that way you can feel everything that's going on. You're gonna have your peg float somewhere right in here. You're gonna move it 3 or 4 inches above this hook. And so that's what it's gonna look like, guys. There won't be no, you won't be able to tie it on there wrong because I'm gonna do the hard part. All you gotta worry about is putting bait on there. And I recommend using shad, bluegill, or crappie if it's legal in your state. But if you can, the head portion is gonna be the best portion fishing in current because you can hook it. If this is a fish's mouth, you go underneath its jaw and out one of its nostrils. And the reason that's the best is because it's going to have less drag in the current, so it's going to be less likely to spin. If you cut a fish in half and then you hook it from the backside, the gut pocket or the gut portion is going to catch in the water and it's going to swirl through the water like that, and you don't want that to happen. And so also, this being rigged this way, let me get it out of the way. This straight up and down portion, your main line, preferably 65-pound test braid, down to a 30-pound test leader for your sinker. So this part should break off if you get snagged up. You'll get to keep all of this, so just keep you some extra 30-pound test fishing line. Even 17 or 20-pound test fishing line will work great. And then your bait, if it does swirl, it's on its own independent swivel, and so it won't get all tangled up. Because if you ever reeled in your fishing line and you had this number going on, where when it gets all spun up like that, you don't want that because that'll cause a kink. And then if you set the hook on a big fish, this rig is for catfish. Well, catfish, stripers, hybrids. If you go below a dam and you're fishing on the bank and the river's going past you this way, you're standing out there, don't cast upstream. But if you cast and you really need it's called the 3-way crane swivel. You really need like a 12-foot surf rod. Pin makes a great one. The pins are relatively skinny. Some of the other rods are kind of heavy to be holding all day. But you take this rig and you cast it straight out parallel to the river, not upstream at all. If anything, a little bit on the downstream side. Again, fishing with braided fishing line so you can feel everything that's going on. You'll hold that rod tip up high, and then you'll let it, when that sinker hits the bottom, and it should hit it not super quick, but it should hit it pretty quick. You can adjust your weight. I would start with 2 ounces, and if that ain't getting to the bottom very quick, go ahead and switch to a 3 ounce and then work your way up. Don't start out heavy and work your way down. You'll lose a lot of weight starting out heavy and then trying to work down. Anyhow, and you cast parallel to the flow. You hold your rod tip up high, reel up the slack immediately. When that sinker hits the water, reel up the slack, and then you just hold that rod tip up high, and you let it bounce, 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 and you let it drift down in the current, and it'll bounce just like if you were on a boat. And you can bump for catfish from the bank. But what else you can do is you can tie a jig on here or a bucktail, or you can just use shad, and you'll catch stripers, you'll catch hybrids, you'll catch white bass, catfish, all of it, all on this. I chunk 10 ounces up to 15 ounces of lead for when we surf fish for stripers. Yeah, are you fishing for saltwater stripers or? I'm in Oklahoma, so our big stripers are like, you know, I think our state record's like 50 pounds or something. And that's up there. My biggest striper in Oklahoma, I think, was 37 or 38 inches. But we're going to tie up another one of these rigs. That's also going to be a cheap rig. I'm going to have some more expensive rigs. I'm about to start my store. I gotta build some more inventory. I'm gonna have some rigs because any of you guys that have watched my channel, you make rigs too. That's awesome, Wildcat. I'm gonna check you out when I get off here. I will. I'll check you out. But this is my favorite all-time J-hook. And if you watch my local city lake channel cat beatdown video or whatever the heck it was, is a couple videos ago, you'll see that I catch 5 to 7 pound channel catfish on this hook just fine. And here's my thumb for reference. And I love this hook because when you're slinging big baits like Wildcat was talking about, when I'm slinging 2 8-ounce weights, and I'm slinging a big bait in heavy current, I like to be able to hook the bait deeper because unless it's a carp or sturdier fish, which I mostly fish with crappie, I like to be able to get the hook deeper. So that way it doesn't fly off there, or when the sinker hits the water and it pulls and it yanks this underwater, oftentimes your bait will rip off when it hits the water. So this is my favorite hook. It's like a jackhammer J style. There's a couple different brands that make them. Daiichi makes this particular one. And the Daiichi ones this far are my favorite ones. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because that tip don't roll and it's needle sharp, but it don't roll. And I've tried a couple different brands, and just hooking up on fish is enough to roll the tips on some of them. And so far, that's my favorite one I've came across. That hook right there is a sticker. We'll go ahead and we're not going to tie one up with this actually right now because I don't have very many of those inventoried for myself. And I'm probably going to need them tomorrow. Wildcat, I'm going to check you out as soon as I get off here. Yeah, let's tie up another one of these crane rigs. I need to get like 5 of them tied up. I tied that leader too long. Again, if people want me to, I'll end up selling these with the peg floats already on them. But for packaging purposes, I recommend you just go to Walmart and buy your own peg floats because they're cheap. And so we're just going to take that again. And if you really wanted to, making rigs for 20 years plus. That's freaking cool, Wildcat. Swordfish and tuna. Yeah, I hooked into a swordfish, but we weren't supposed to pull him up in the boat for whatever reason. When I was in Costa Rica, we did end up pulling one up and taking a picture of it, but I'm not in Costa Rica, so I don't think I can get in trouble for saying that. But anyhow, yeah, those swordfish and the all that stuff they're freaking fun to catch. But anyhow, so we got that tied on there. We got this on here. If you just tie this knot one time when you're retying your own rig, you can even save this line. Because if you only tie one overhand knot, what it'll do, or what it should do, is it'll come untied just like that. And so your sinker will come off. But it ain't going to just come off unless you get stuck in the rocks. And so I'm going to show you that again. Here, I'm going to clip it off because now it's got a weak spot. But if you just take it, fold your line over, just tie one overhand knot, cinch it down tight, cut your tag in short, and now when you pull on that sucker, it'll come undone just like that. And so you can literally keep using the same leader and just losing weights. It takes like maybe 10 pounds of pressure, 15 pounds of pressure to get that sinker to slip. I'm tying them to be optimistic because I'm selling them and hoping that you get your sinker back. But realistically, fishing below the dams, there's a good possibility that that sinker's gone history. Bye-bye. Adios. And so I'm going to show you guys my knot one more time. I go like this. Put my finger there. Weston Outdoors. They're Doyle from Harbor Freight. I forget what they're called, like flush cutters or something. Really? Rebecca Nortwick. I have other people in here that won their stuff, and they got their stuff. So if you didn't get it, it was due to the mail. And we're not doing a giveaway today anyways, but anyhow. So there's our knot on that. Matter of fact, I can post confirmation emails of people all telling me that they got their stuff. So you'd be the only one. That's how I tie that. Let's get on to snelling the hook. Wildcat Rigs, I appreciate it. Golden bait, good deal. Yeah, it's important to be confident in the knot that you tie. If you're not, then Charles Phillip Bowen. I believe I'm going fishing tomorrow. My oldest daughter, she doesn't have work tomorrow. She has school and college and all that stuff, but she gets a chance to go tomorrow. Actually, I think I get to take her for the next 2 days. I'll probably take all the girls, honestly. We've been trying to go noodling. We've tried filming it a couple times, but the catfish just weren't there. But we're gonna keep trying until we get I'm gonna keep trying to get the going noodling until I can try to get a catfish. I've never noodled one, and it's on my bucket list of things to do. And I feel like if I start noodling, it's going to give me a better idea of when the spawn's going on, and so I'll know when to switch fishing to fish for something else. Noodling, it's a thing we do here in Oklahoma. Essentially, catfish, they spawn inside of a hole. And you go down, you find the catfish, you stick your hand in, or you find the hole, you stick your hand in there, and well, I appreciate it, Charles Phillip. I appreciate it. Yes, stick your arm into a catfish hole. Yeah, but it never got returned to me, is what I'm saying. I never got it back. If I did, I would have resent it. I got postage scales and everything, so I don't know what the issue was. Usually when if I send out crappie jigs and I send out 5 1/16 ounce crappie jigs, it costs me 3 stamps, which I think are like 70 cents a piece, and I have books of stamps. Now I just dropped all my catfish rigs. I have books of stamps over here. One issue that I have ran into with mailing jigs in the past is that they don't feed through something right, and the guy at the post office is the one that told me something about the crappie jigs, particularly these ones. Since I send them in an envelope through the regular mail, they go down a conveyor belt, and they go through this thing, and since it's getting sent like a letter, sometimes they don't go. I'll have my wife look at it when she gets home. Now, where was we? Anyhow, those 2 catfish poles that I'm going to give away at the lake to some kids. Do I ever catch a bass? No, I don't ever. Oh, bass. Yeah, sometimes I catch bass. But anyhow, I made these at work, and I've got those 2 tiger rods that I bought from Walmart just to give away to a random kid at the lake. I made 2 rod holders to go with those fishing rods. So so they'll have rod holders to go with it. So that should be pretty cool. Somebody will be set up. So here in Oklahoma, we have a lot of sand and rock and stuff. And you can just shove it down in the rocks or the sand or whatever. And it's made out of stainless steel. That was Schedule 40 stainless steel, 2-inch pipe. And I crushed this top piece down, and I left the bottom piece at 2 inches. So you could, this will take a meat hunter, which if you're not from Oklahoma, you may not know. Wildcat, I don't know. I've thought about selling them. But they probably wouldn't be made out of stainless steel because it's kind of expensive. They'd probably be made out of carbon steel and then spray painted. I don't know. I'll have to check out what's on the market. I know that everybody else's are kind of expensive, but honestly, I'm from Tulsa, but honestly, these are they're really not that expensive to make. This is just 3/8 round stock. If I had some Schedule 40 carbon pipe, just a couple drops, and we can literally knock out. If I was building these for a living, I could probably do 100 of these a day. But before I give them away to some kids at the lake, me, the wife, and the kids are gonna go put them to use and get a couple videos out of them, and then we're gonna give away those tiger rods. They're not expensive rods; they're just rods that are good enough for what we're doing. And I try to keep this channel showing everybody that fishing doesn't have to be expensive, because at the end of the day, the only thing that I have that's expensive is the boat. A couple fishing reels, and that's about really it, honestly. And I catch fish all the time, and I just do it as, you know, I used to go out and buy the biggest, the baddest, and blah, 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 blah. But I stopped because I really realized something a couple years ago, and that's my wife's grandpa. He keeps finding old tackle boxes from when he was a kid and so on and so forth. Shipping would be a few bucks on those. What I keep realizing is that if it wasn't in your grandpa's tackle box, you probably don't need it to catch fish. If you're catfishing and everybody's telling you to switch to circle hooks, do you really need to switch to circle hooks when the fact of the matter is bass fishermen have not started putting circle hooks on their spinnerbaits? Crappie fishermen have not started putting circle hooks on their crappie jigs. The simple fact of the matter is that everybody already has a bunch of J-hooks that work just fine. And so the fishing market needed a way to entice people to buy more hooks or to buy something. And so it's in my mind that the only logical explanation for that, see, the conservation side, I understand that. And I think that circle hooks do have their place, and I think it's on limb lines and stuff like that. But if you watch my trot line videos, which is I don't know if you know what trot lines are, Wildcat, since you're from the ocean, but you probably do because you like fishing. The trot lines, I'll run a line across the river, and I'll put a weight so far out. All right, Wildcat, we're going to tell everybody else that way they know, but I got a video on it. And I string these lines out, I'll string it from one side to the other, like tie it to a tree root on this side and a tree root on this side. Then I'll come about 15 or 20 foot off the bank, and I'll put a window weight or some kind of heavy weight, a couple pounds, 5 pounds is about perfect, on each side. Well, in the middle, I'll put a series of hooks, 25 of them to be exact, and I'll put a 1 foot leader, a swivel, and then I'll attach it to that main line. Then I'll put my baits on there. And in that video, I caught all kinds of catfish. And the thing about it is every one of those hooks was a J hook, and there was nobody there to set those hooks. And all those hooks, or all those fish, were hooked in the corner of the mouth. And but like I was saying, on the limb lines and jug lines and stuff like that, I believe in circle hooks. They come up, they grab the bait, they turn around, they swim off with it, it hooks them in the corner of the mouth. But myself personally, I sit on the boat, I just sit back and watch them. And there's something about grabbing that rod and freaking yanking that freaking hook. And I'm ate up with it. Ate up with fishing, guys. Ate up with it. And this just keeps it affordable. The circle hooks that I do like are Gamakatsu brand. And they're a little bit pricey. The Eagle Claw ones, I'm just not a real big fan of them. The gaps are too narrow. J Fishing and Outdoors, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just not a real big fan of the Eagle Claw circle hooks. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I want to talk to my wife for a little bit. BKK Wide Gap Circle Hooks. I'm gonna check those out. Wildcat, I'm gonna look you up.